What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the How to Read series, where today we finally have the opportunity to come together and celebrate a brand new release for an older book. This is the first installment to the Pennycotton series, which I hope will someday become a very long and very successful string of children's books. Now, I'm not going to say too much about it here as far as background information and things like that, because I really want to give this story a chance to stand on its own and to speak for itself and just kind of introduce itself to you organically as we go. But if that kind of thing is of interest to you, there are plenty of update videos on the channel already that cover the subject, so I invite you to go back whenever you have the time and check those out for yourself. What I will admit to you about this book, though, is that it is probably the most nervous I've ever been when writing something, because it's the farthest out of my comfort zone I've pushed myself when writing something. And I know that children and parents alike can be some of the harshest and most brutally honest critics that you will ever find out there. So I'm just really hoping that you all enjoy this. But without further ado, let us begin our journey here and jump into Babbit Greets the Neighborhood. Somewhere beyond the greenest hills, over the clearest rivers, and through the tallest trees, in the shadow of an old farmhouse, lies a place of magic called Gilleigh Loch. It's not the kind of magic you get from fairies, dragons, or wizards, but instead, a more special kind, the magic of nature. It's the kind that makes the fish splash and the birds sing, the frogs croak, while the squirrels and chipmunks chatter back and forth with each other. It makes the fireflies shine along to every hoot that the owl makes. The loch is the place where animals of all kinds, no matter what you've been told, come together to live in peace and harmony. No matter the day or the season, if you're patient, you might see a friend that you haven't before, maybe just for a visit, or to call it home. As a matter of fact, a new family moved into the base of an old tree next to the water not so long ago. Some of the animals say that's the best view in the whole neighborhood. Inside the happy home lives a family of rabbits. There's a father rabbit, a mother rabbit, and brother and sister rabbits that seem to pop up every time you blink. They're the Pennycottons, but the Pennycotton you may like to meet is named Babbit. He's not hard to pick out of this crowd. He's unique from all the others around him. On the outside, he's the only one in his family who wears glasses. And he's the only one whose whiskers curl at the ends to make a mustache. One day, Babbit was the last of his many siblings to get out of bed in the morning. When the sun shined through his window and warmed his face, he awoke to see a typical day in his household. He sat up in bed and put on his glasses to find his little brothers and sisters making quite the racket. Some were still eating breakfast while others were complaining because they couldn't leave the table until they finished. Some were trying to get dressed while others preferred to run and jump around rather than find pants or a shirt. All were laughing and yelling, even while they were brushing their teeth and washing their fur. Poor Mother and Father Rabbit were in the middle of it all, trying their best to keep up with their children. Babbit didn't like the noise, It made him nervous and uncomfortable. He tried putting his pillow over his head, folding his ears with his paws, and stuffing them with tissue. None of it worked, however. It was far too loud to be of any use. Well, if I can't find peace here, he thought, perhaps it's waiting for me elsewhere. Quickly hopping from his bed, Babbit decided it would be a wonderful day for a walk. Knowing his mother would never approve of him going outdoors in his pajamas, he changed into his favorite red shirt, his black vest, and he put his bowler hat atop his head before scurrying out the door. "Phew!" he exclaimed, while breathing heavily and sliding down the door to his bum. "Now that I'm free from that circus, I can look forward to the rest of my day." He then stood tall on his feet to gather himself, and with a wrinkling twitch of his nose, he set off down the path. Before making it out of sight, the door cracked open just enough for two heads to poke out and wish him well. "Make good choices and new friends," Mother Rabbit hollered. "Enjoy your stroll around the neighborhood," Father Rabbit added. And enjoy it he did. He whistled as he kicked a rock to and fro. Then he skipped for a while and clicked his heels together with glee. Nothing could ruin this perfect alone time. Nothing, he thought to himself. Until it got interrupted, of course. "Hello down there," a voice from above him chirped. Due to it being a voice he'd never heard before, and not knowing where it came from, it startled Babbit. He stumbled over his feet and landed in the dust, his glasses next to him. He couldn't see real well without his glasses, but he was able to find the very blurry shape of a small bird sitting on a branch near him. "Oh, I'm sorry, little friend. I didn't mean to scare you," the bird said. "I was just soaring around, since that's my most favorite thing to do in the world, and I came across you on your walk. From all the way up there, you didn't look familiar, which is strange to me because I know everyone there is to know in these parts. So I had to come down here and get a closer look at you. Have we met?" "No, we haven't," Babbit answered nervously, trying to clean his glasses. "Oh ho ho, I knew today was going to be a good day for meeting new animals," the bird cheered, fluttering down to stand on Babbit's chest. "Anyway, I'm Willard, the Bohemian Waxwing. Bill the Bird for short. And you are?" "Babbit. Babbit Pennycotton," he said gently, keeping his eyes toward the ground. "I'm glad to meet you, Babbit the Rabbit," Bill chuckled. "I hope you don't mind that nickname." "I guess it's all right," Babbit accepted hesitantly. "Say, you're a pretty shy fellow, aren't you? And not for looking folks in the eye. And not one for looking folks in the eye. What should we do about that?" Bill searched for a solution and snapped his feathers when one came to mind. "I've got it. What do you like to do for fun, Babbit?" "Oh, I don't know," he shrugged. "Come now, there's got to be something." "Everybody has something," Bill challenged. "Doing fun things together is the best way to get to know someone. For instance, I like to be in the tippy tops of trees, sitting so high you can see for miles in all directions. It makes you feel like you could, well, take flight. Have you ever been?" "No, and I don't think I'd care to, Babbit grumbled. "But the view is absolutely breathtaking," Bill tempted. "I'm sure it is, but I'm perfectly happy keeping every bit of my fuzzy self on the ground," he resisted, getting off his back. "Shy and stubborn, huh?" Bill thought before offering a compromise. "I'll tell you what. We'll go only as high as you're comfortable with, and sit there for a couple moments. See how you feel. If you truly don't like it, we can come down, and I'll never ask you to do it ever again. What do you say?" "Well, I'd really rather not, but I suppose," he agreed, intimidated by the mere thought of the activity. Moments later, the two arrived in front of the tree Bill chose for the climb. In Babbit's mind, it was the biggest tree in the whole loch. The first branch was the hardest to reach. 1 hop, 2 hops, 3 hops, and he grabbed it. It was exhausting work, since rabbits don't normally climb, but he was able to pull himself up. With that accomplished, and Bill rooting for him, he kept on upward. He no longer cared how high he was, or how much farther he had to go. He just wanted to reach the view that had Bill so excited. Nearing the top of the tree, he tiptoed on some of the smaller branches, careful not to break them. He then pushed through the leaves, popped his head out the other side, and wow! The sky was bluer, the clouds seemed fluffier, the view was spectacular. Bill was right, but Babbit didn't want him to know it. So the entire time they spent up there, he did his best to look disappointed or uninterested. The journey down was much easier, mostly jumps, which come more naturally to rabbits. And half the time it took to go up, they returned to where they started. "Well, look at that. You're safe and sound on the ground with both your ears still intact," Bill teased, settling on his perch. "Yes, well, now that that's done, I'd like to get back to my walk, if I could," Babbit stated, readjusting his hat. "Of course, I interrupted you. You know, it sure is a lovely day for it. I think I'll do the same. Hey, you wouldn't happen to want some company, would you?" he asked. "Actually, Bill, I came out here for the solitude," he rejected remorsefully. "Oh, sure, yeah, I understand," he responded dismissively. "I just thought since you're doing it and I'll be doing the same, we might as well do it together." Babbit paused before caving. "After you, sir." The unlikely pair soon moved to a trail that brought them closer to the water. As they went along the beach, Babbit grew more used to the idea of having a companion. However, their joking and playing were halted by an upset sound in the distance. Was it a lonely bird who got separated from his flock? Bill didn't think so. Was it a fish that got dragged out of the water by the tide? Babbit thought not. Such a curious noise deserved investigation, and morphed into a voice when they crept nearer, one that Bill recognized. "I know that voice. Fitch," he tweeted happily. That was what he called the plump river hunter that was on the shore with an easel and a paint palette, very frustrated with the sandcastle he was trying to copy. Bill whistling his name surprised him, but it got his attention. "Hiya, Bill. What are you doing out here?" "Oh, just out and about with a new friend of mine," he replied. He gave Babbit the chance to say hello, but when he kept his eyes low and was more interested in the sand sinking between his toes, he introduced himself. "This is Babbit the rabbit. He's a bit shy." "That's all right. It's good to meet you, Babbit," the otter smiled. "My name is Crawfitch, like my favorite food, but you can call me Fitch." Your mother named you after food?" Babbit asked, puzzled. His question made Fitch chuckle. "Well, to be honest, my mother didn't know what to name me when I was born. She only knew that I liked to eat more than my siblings, and whenever she'd asked what I wanted for dinner, I'd always say, crawfish. So, what do we have here? Bill asked, butting in. Just some painting, or trying to at least, Fitch sighed. My model won't cooperate with me. I've been out here all day building the sandcastle, and I just can't get it right. What do you think it's missing, Babbit? Bill asked for his opinion. Oh, I don't know, he answered bashfully. Come now, Babbit. Problems are solved easier with more than one brain, Bill coaxed. Babbit silently hatched an idea and took off running down the beach, returning with a handful of shiny rocks and shells to decorate the walls of the castle. Once he had placed them, Bill and Fitch pondered his work. Oh no, I didn't ruin it, did I? He panicked. No, I think you did just the trick, Fitch reassured. Say, you're pretty good at this type of thing. Done much painting yourself? No, and I don't think I'd care to, Babbit responded sternly. And why is that? Bill joined in. I don't think I'd be much good at it, he stated plainly. That's the beauty of art. You don't have to be good, Fitch exclaimed. You could create the ugliest thing in the loch, but it could be marvelous to you. Why don't you give it a try? I have enough easels and extra supplies for everyone. But what do I paint? Babbit stared at the blank canvas that was placed in front of him. Whatever you want, Fitch informed. Inspiration has no rules. Just don't think about it too hard. Feel it. Listen to what your heart says. It'll come. I know what I'm going to paint, Bill announced. Me too, he said confidently. Colors flew and brushes danced as Bill and Fitch got underway with their creations. One, of course, had his fancy new and improved sandcastle, while the other made a mountain and put himself on its peak. Babbit, on the other hand, wasn't so sure what would be on his canvas. Nothing he saw around him he liked. Nothing he thought of spoke to him. So he decided to feel for it, to give his heart a quick listen. What it gave back was a daydream of him asleep and alone in a boat on the loch. That was his inspiration. By the end of the activity, the three artists were covered in more paint than their pictures. It was an awful mess, but it was fun. Fun that he wanted to hide from Bill and Fitch, so he did his best to look disappointed or uninterested. There we have it, 3 masterpieces fit for a museum, Fitch said, cleaning off his brushes. Yes, well, with that done, I think we should be getting back to our walk, shall we? Babbit asked Bill. I suppose we shall, he replied. Hey, wait, Bill objected. Could I maybe tag along? Now that my art is done for the day, I don't really have anything else to do. It's all right with me if it's all right with Babbit, Bill answered. Babbit let out a big sigh and said, the more the merrier. Eventually, Babbit became perhaps the merriest of all to have Fitch invite himself along and turn the duo into a trio. He and Bill enjoyed tales of art and the finer things, as well as giggling at the sounds of an empty stomach. From somewhere down the trail, a sweet smell slithered through the air like a snake and into Fitch's nose. Do you fellas smell that? He sniffed. I think it's because your stomach is growling, Bill doubted. No, I smell it too. It's delicious. Babbit scrunched his nose, believing him. It's this way. Fitch tracked the smell all the way to a house carved out of the side of a hill. right to its door. "Erwin, are you home? Is that your baking I smell?" he called as he knocked. "That depends. Are you going to eat all of it if I let you in?" a voice answered from inside. "Not this time," Fitch pleaded. "Come on out, Erwin. I have someone for you to meet." The voice mumbled and grumbled until the door opened to show that Erwin was a hedgehog wearing a chef's hat and apron. "Hello, Fitch, Bill, and this is Babbit," Fitch told him, seeing that eye contact was once again being avoided. "He's new here, and has a tough time meeting new folks." "Why didn't you say so? Here I am, using such bad manners in front of a new neighbor," Erwin scolded. "You're more than welcome to come in, as long as you make it snappy. My timer is about to ring." They shuffled in and made themselves at home around Erwin's table. Fitch was already stuffing his cheeks when Bill asked, "So what are you baking today, Erwin?" "Well, there were cookies, but since Fitch is helping himself to those, I guess I'll have to prepare a cake," he sighed. What kind of cake?" Fitch muttered with a mouthful. "I usually like dirt cake, with worm frosting and beetle sprinkles on top. But since I have a guest, I think I'll make a nice carrot cake instead," he replied. "Carrot cake is my favorite," Babbit perked up. "Oh, what a lucky guess," Erwin celebrated, pleased with himself. "Would you like to help?" "No, I couldn't. I shouldn't," Babbit moped. "And why is that?" Bill pushed. "Because I've never baked before. I'm afraid it wouldn't look anything like a cake if I did," he admitted. "Don't worry about that," Erwin comforted. "The most important part of baking is the taste, not the looks. As long as we follow the recipe in my book, I'm sure it will turn out." "Well, if it's really as easy as you say, I suppose I could give it a try," Babbit agreed. "Wonderful!" he exclaimed, before examining his paint-covered assistant's head to toe. "Oh my goodness gracious me! I can't have my helpers looking like this. Such filthiness in my kitchen just won't do." He then escorted the three into the bathroom, to a tub that seemed much too big for one little hedgehog, and filled it high with water and bubbles so they could scrub themselves clean while he gathered the ingredients they needed to start the cake. Fitch, who took to the water like, well, an otter, dove in, clothes and all. At first, Bill and Babbit weren't sure they'd like sudsy sleeves and puddly pockets, but soon it was rub-a-dub-dub, three dressed animals in the tub. They splished and splashed until the color washed off and mixed to form a rainbow pool inside the tub. Squeaky clean and ready to continue, they were given hats and aprons to match Erwin, and given each job to help with the recipe. Babbit put some of the ingredients in one bowl, while Fitch put the rest in another. When that was done, Bill mixed them all together to make the batter, which Erwin put in the oven to bake. When the frosting was on, and it was ready to eat, it wasn't the best-looking cake, or the neatest, but everyone had a piece. They told him how terrific and tasty it was, which made Babbit smile, a big, bright smile that they all could see. Bill and Fitch were surprised to see such a smile. They expected Babbit to be disappointed and uninterested, but they were happy to see him so proud. "I don't think I could eat another bite," Fitch burped. "Me either. I feel stuffed to the beak," Bill groaned. "So I guess that means you'll be on your way soon?" Erwin asked downheartedly. "Why do you ask, Erwin?" Bill questioned sensitively, noticing his sadness. "Well, I'd very much like to come with you since I've finished my baking. If I wouldn't be too much of a bother, that is," he responded hopefully. Cheerfully and with a wink, Babbit declared, "And one more makes 4. The group rose from the table and prepared to leave Irwin's house, but were stopped by a voice doing its best to lure them outside while speaking through a megaphone. "Ahem! Come one, come all, step right up, and see the amazingly mystifying Carney and Lotus," it invited loudly. "Lotus and Carney, you mean," another voice whispered. "That's what I said," the first voice scolded, keeping hushed, then returning to its device. "Anyway, witness tricks that will astound you, illusions that will memorize you. You're guaranteed to be talking about them for weeks." Do we know that voice, Fitch?" Bill asked inside, pretending not to know. "We do," he confirmed, playing along. I think our favorite ladies have come to treat us to a performance." "Oh, I was so hoping they'd stop by," Irwin clapped. "Babbit, you really must come see. It's every bit as good as they say." Not entirely sure what he was being dragged into, Babbit remained cautious in the back of the line. He seemed to be the only one needing time to understand how there could be a handmade, portable stage parked only steps into Irwin's front lawn. In front of a large curtain made of a patchy old sheet stood a slender marten dressed in a barber-shop outfit. Next to her was a red fox with a shimmering and flowing ball-gown dress. To Babbit, they were an odd-looking pair, but no one else seemed to mind. "What are you two troublemakers up to today?" Bill greeted. "Just rehearsing for our magic show," the marten replied. "When is it?" Fitch cut in. "We don't know yet," she answered. "Well, where is it?" Irwin added on. "We don't know that either," she repeated. "But it never hurts to practice, right? And you even brought us an audience. How splendiferous!" "We did better than that. We brought you a new neighbor," Bill told her. "I'm Babbit the rabbit," he answered for himself, budging through the line to shake the marten's paw. Again, Bill, Fitch, and this time Irwin too, were surprised. They expected him to be shy and avoidant, but were happy to see him with the courage to embrace a stranger. "All my friends call me Carney because carnation sounds too formal for the stage," the marten said, setting down her megaphone to take his paw. "Have you ever done magic, Babbit?" "No, but I've always wanted to," he responded excitedly. For the third time, he surprised the three. They expected him to have one of 1,000 excuses not to try this new thing, but were happy to see him so willing without convincing. "Then we'll skip ahead to the participation portion of our act," Carney said, pulling him on stage with her. "Don't worry, we won't have you disappearing or sawed in half. We haven't made it to that part of our lessons yet, but we can do a... How about a card trick?" the fox suggested, grabbing a deck from the small table of items and gags that was set up. "How about a card trick?" Carney repeated, stealing the idea. Step on over to my talented assistant Lotus, and... "You're the assistant, you mean," Lotus corrected, rolling her eyes. "That's what I said," Carney replied, shuffling the deck. "Anyway, I have here an ordinary deck of cards. Babbit, would you agree that there is no funny business here?" "Yes," he said, looking them over intently. She then fanned them out in front of him, so the trick could continue. "Good. Now what I'd like you to do is choose a card. It can be any card you like. It doesn't matter, as long as you only choose one. and show it to us if you would, please." Babbit scanned his options carefully, chose the one he wanted, and held it up. "The Queen of Hearts," Carney announced to the audience. "Very good. Now, this is the most important part. Believe me if you will, doubt me if you must, but Lotus is going to take your card and bend it in half, with her mind. And wouldn't you know it, with a little concentration, the top of the card in Lotus's hand bent and almost touched the bottom. She gave time for applause, then spoke. "For our next trick, I'm going to hand Babbit this empty flower pot. Now, Babbit, would you agree that your pot is empty?" "There's not a thing inside," he answered convincingly. "Well, what would you say if I said we could fill it by using just my magic wand?" Lotus asked. "And how could that be done? But how could that be done?" he wondered doubtfully. "With 3 simple taps, like so," she assured. 1, 2, 3, and poof! A bouquet of flowers appeared out of thin air and filled the pot. She took a short bow while Carney retrieved a trinket from the table and passed it to her. "Our last trick for today is one inspired by our dear friend Bill the Bird. Babbit, what I have here is a string attached to a piece of cardboard," Lotus explained, taking back the lead. "On one side, there's a drawing of an empty cage, and on the other, a bird that looks an awful lot like Bill. Do you know how to put the bird in the cage without them being, with them being so far apart?" "No, not the foggiest clue," he said, anxious to learn. "Don't blink or you'll miss it." Taking the string in her paws, she rubbed her palms together rapidly, so the cardboard spun fast enough to look like the 2 pictures had joined, putting the bird in its cage. "Wowie, that sure is something," Babbit praised, watching the bird and the cage drift apart again as the cardboard slowed down. "And for being such a helpful volunteer, you can keep it," she said, closing it in his paw. "Take it home, bewilder your family," Carney added. "Home. Oh my goodness, home!" Babbit remembered in a panic. "I can't believe I've been out all day. My parents are probably worried sick." "Time flies when you're having fun," Fitch said. "Too much fun." "But we're not ready to say our goodbyes yet," Irwin included. "Well, we wouldn't have to if you walk with me," Babbit realized. "As a matter of fact, why don't all of you come?" "Are you sure about that, Babbit?" Bill intervened. "Absolutely. I'll be lucky to make it home before dark as it is," he responded. "I'd feel much safer if I wasn't alone, but we have to hurry." Twilight stars twinkled overhead, popping on like tiny lamps, leading the gang to the warm glow in the Pennycotton's window. When Mother and Father Rabbit noticed them coming down the road, they immediately rushed out of the house to see them. "Who is that I see having fun with that crowd?" Mother Rabbit wondered aloud. "Not our son," Father Rabbit commented. "He doesn't like commotions." "It is me. Me and the friends I've brought," Babbit answered. "You've brought friends home with you?" Mother Rabbit asked, in a pleased tone. "Not our son," Father Rabbit repeated. "He doesn't like meeting new animals." "But I have. These are some of our neighbors from around the loch," Babbit explained. "First, Bill found me. Then we found Fitch, who brought us to Irwin's house, where Carney and Lotus stopped by." "And have you had some new experience with your new friends?" Mother Rabbit asked, sounding pleased again. "That can't be our son," Father Rabbit rephrased. "He doesn't like trying new things." "But I did," Babbit replied. "I climbed a tree higher than any rabbit has and painted a work of art I saw in my mind. I baked a cake that everyone loved and got to assist in a magic show." You know, Mother, I think our Babbit left us this morning and has come back a brand spanking new rabbit. Father Rabbit chuckled. I can see that, she giggled back. It sounds like he learned what it is to overcome his struggles. It couldn't have been easy, but having good friends to encourage and support you makes it better, he said, hugging his son. Yes, he's certainly lucky to have met such caring and helpful ones, she agreed, joining them and planting a kiss on his forehead. And ones that he should be saying good night to, because of how late it's getting. Father Rabbit hinted. Ah, do they have to? Can't they stay 5 minutes longer? Babbit negotiated. Don't worry, we'll come back tomorrow, Bill promised. And the next day, Fitch promised too. And the next day, Irwin repeated. And the day after that, Carney and Lotus said in unison. Babbit was eager to go to bed so his friends would return quicker. But he had to pass through his siblings to get there. They were, as he left them that morning, loud and unruly, each having a million questions about his day. He showed off the souvenir he'd been given, which quieted them down some, but even from their beds he could hear the younger siblings arguing with the older ones over what they saw. Snickering, he began his nighttime routine. Off came his favorite red shirt, his black vest, and the bowler hat from atop his head. He changed into his pajamas and slipped beneath his blanket, yawning as he melted into his pillow. He fell fast asleep, wearing his glasses and an exhausted smile, as he got busy dreaming up plans for his next great adventures around the neighborhood of Gilleigh Loch. The end. So there you have it, guys. A nice, short and sweet, but quite a pleasant story here to finish off every single project that I have on my shelf in my catalog. So the catch-up process of the How to Read series is now complete. What does that mean for us now? Well, I'm going to be taking just a very short, brief break here to just kind of reset and to hopefully let people catch up with the 50 whatever videos we have in this series so far. We have quite a few different books, quite a few episodes to get caught up on, so I'm going to definitely let that sit and just be for a little while I kind of figure things out and move forward with my next project announcement, which will be happening, I'd assume, within the next few weeks. I'm planning on making some videos, some reviews and things like that, just to kind of give us a break and spice up the variety of content. But I am planning on getting back to books very, very soon after I have some conversations and kind of figure things out and make plans in my head. So until we meet again, guys, definitely keep your eyes out for those announcements and those updates on the channel. But until then, guys, we will see you next time. Take care.